Mr. Matthew Priest, who is the Assistant Director of the Fort Sill National Cemetery in Elgin. Matthew was named the Assistant Director of the Fort Sill National Cemetery back in February of 2021. He is responsible for assisting the Director with all administrative, burial, and maintenance operations at the cemetery. He is a 2017 graduate of the National Cemetery Administrators Comprehensive Year-Long Cemetery Director Intern Program. Mr. Priest is a veteran. He served 6 years in the U.S. Army Reserve as a military police officer. He deployed multiple times in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Mr. Priest earned his associate's degree in construction management in 2012 from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And Jim McClary, Matthew is an Alabama fan, unfortunately.
Okay.
So, anyway, Matthew, if you come up.
Yes, sir. All right, good afternoon. Do I need this?
No.
You want to step out?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
My wife says I'm loud enough, but she could be rude. I like to start off by saying my name is Matthew Priest. I work for the government and I'm here to help. My kind of people. Hey, no, I need to get back behind the phone. All right.
No, you're good.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to walk around a little bit. I'm sorry, that's just, I'm a millennial. That's what I do. So anyhow, thank you, Don. I appreciate the introduction. I am the Assistant Director at the Fort Sill National Cemetery, the Director of the Oklahoma National Cemetery Complex, which includes Fort Gibson and Fort Sill. He's located in Muskogee, up at Fort Gibson. So we're kind of out here on the southwest side of the state. He's running the east side of the state, but we work hand in hand together. The same talk that I give you today, if you've lived across the nation like most of you have, you should be hearing the same thing throughout all the nation. So what I wanted to highlight on and what I was asked to present is about your VA burial benefits. Are you guys aware of your VA burial benefits? Because if not, I have failed since February of 22, but I can make up for it now. Okay. Well, all of those who served, everything in the VA, as you all know, starts with eligibility. So before 1980, for enlisted, that's October. It's 1981 for officers. You guys are special. 1 day active duty makes you eligible for burial in any open VA national cemetery. 1 day active duty. Not a dishonorable discharge. Anything other than dishonorable discharge will get you eligibility. For the veteran, for the spouse, for any minor children under the age of 23, if they were in school, or any adult disabled children that are completely dependent on the parents. Those are eligible as well. What we tell, and what I usually tell customers and veterans when they come to the cemetery is once you arrive on the cemetery grounds, there's no cost for anything, any services that are rendered at the cemetery. It's already paid in full. You cannot buy your way into a national cemetery. It's not possible. It's earned, period. It's earned for the veteran and it's earned for the spouse. So, the spouse is deserving just as much as the veteran, because I know my wife, she'll tell you up and down. She was with me along the ride, and I agree wholeheartedly. So, in terms of cost, there's no cost to be at the National Cemetery. There are costs to get to the National Cemetery, but once you're there, there's no cost. Now, what does that include? That's opening and closing of the gravesite. That's the vault that the casket is in. You can purchase a vault, but it's not necessary. There is a reimbursement for the vault if you would like to purchase a private vault, but Congress makes that dollar amount. So use your judgment whether or not it's a good return on investment. The headstone, we will erect a headstone for the veteran or the spouse, and then at the time of passing for the subsequent person, we will order a new headstone to honor that person. There's no charge for that. Obviously, perpetual care. Every national cemetery is considered a national shrine, and Fort Sill National Cemetery was recently awarded 2 years ago the Organization of Excellence Award, which is about only 3 national cemeteries nationally each year get that award. So you've got a really special gem here in Oklahoma. I'll be honest with you. Fort Gibson didn't get it, but Fort Sill got it, by gosh. That being said, it's a national shrine. And it's because the veterans that work there, the civilians that work there, the contractors that work there, they truly care. They love what they do. You can see it when they talk to you. You can see how they interact with every action that they do. There's care. There's delicate care. So, what if you decide you don't want to be buried in a national cemetery? It's fine. You got benefits for that as well. So I know back home in Tennessee where I'm from, we've got a private cemetery on the farm. I've got lineage that served in the military that dates all the way back to World War I. So if you decide that you would not like to be buried in a national cemetery because maybe it's not conveniently located to your home or to maybe your children or whomever, then you have benefits outside of that. So you can have a government issued marker delivered to that cemetery at no cost. That's a benefit. Now there is a cost to erect the marker. The VA will not pay for that. I'll be honest with you guys. And that could be anything from your white traditional headstone that you're used to seeing to a flat granite to a bronze, whatever it may be. You also have, if at a private cemetery, and the prior administration changed the law on this, if you have a loved one who was a veteran who's buried in a private cemetery, who is marked with a private marker, like many of us have our lineage, if they were a veteran, they could receive a medallion that shows that they were a veteran until their branch of service, and it'll say veteran, U.S. Air Force, Army, etc. And they'll actually mail it to your home of record with the epoxy, and you can go out and fixate that on that headstone at no charge. That's a benefit as well. Another benefit that has recently changed, and I always like to highlight, the law just recently changed back in June, and I have to highlight it. The Congress passed that the VA will provide an urn or a commemorative plaque for veterans if they so choose. So if a veteran passes today and the family member wants the VA to provide them an urn, they can, and they will. It's a beautiful urn. With that being said, if the VA provides that benefit, you will forfeit the rest of your burial benefits. So you will not be eligible to be buried in a national cemetery. You will not be eligible for a headstone, etc. That's a new law that came out this year. I'd be wrong if I didn't bring it up, but just know these are your benefits that you've earned. Let me think.
Even if you're buried at a national cemetery?
You won't be eligible. If you're buried at a national cemetery, yeah, you won't be eligible for that benefit. Correct. Yeah. In terms of VA benefits, burial in a national cemetery is the most costly one because we're talking perpetuity out of all the other benefits. Takes millions of dollars to run Fort Sill National Cemetery. I can stand up here in a soapbox and say that. And it's beautiful. And it should be beautiful because of the men and women who served and are buried out there. These are your brothers and sisters. There is no reservations at Fort Sill National Cemetery, at any national cemetery. We have generals buried right next to privates, just like we served together. So just know that burials are first come, first basis. Fort Sill National Cemetery, you got, probably some of you guys saw when they dedicated it back in 2001, I'm assuming. So that right now we're on our first 42 acres. We've got about 400. So in terms of depletion, because I do highlight, if you're eligible, one day active duty before 1981 as an officer, September, October of 1981 as an officer, you're eligible for any open VA national cemetery. So Fort Sill is not going to close in your lifetime. There's not much I will guarantee working for the government, but that's one I can stand pretty firm on. But that being said, I appreciate what all you all do, continuously do for our nation. I truly, truly do. It's noble, and it's honoring, and we talk, Bill, it's God's will. I think some of us are given this opportunity. So I take this time to answer any questions that you all may have. I brought lots of material from you all. You bought it. This is your tax dollars hard at work. So please take it home. One thing I want to highlight is the Planning Your Legacy book.
Very nice.
This is one of the more grand things I think the VA has done over the last few years. So please, if you don't have these, let me know and I'll bring you some, or I'll bring some by. But these are good. As a matter of fact, I just finalized my will today with my attorney, and my will and my 214 is stuck in this book in my safe. So that's a great one to review and whatnot. So, yes, sir.
If we decide to get cremated, now you provide the urn, but can they still be buried in the, you got a place to put these urns? Or?
So, that's a good point. I should have highlighted the different burial options because I failed to do so, and I knew I'd forget. I need to take a nap after lunch.
What's the question?
Oh, the question is the different types of burial benefits that are at Fort Sill National Cemetery. So obviously we accept caskets. We have vaults that are placed there. I'm gonna highlight the second part of that too. Okay, we have above ground columbarium, which is for cremations only. We have an in-ground cremation section. Obviously, you place the urn in ground. That's the biggest difference between the two. Columbarium, you have a niche. It's very popular. It's above ground. You have more of a finite space to be honored on the niche, but it's noble and it's honoring. The in-ground burial option, which is the new section that we laid out about a year ago, it's right next to the Public Information Center. That one you'll receive a traditional white marble headstone that you're used to seeing at national cemeteries. We have a scattering garden. If you'd like to scatter your loved one's remains, you can do that at the National Cemetery, or you can do it anywhere you like. And then we have a section laid out just for the memorials. So if you scatter a loved one's remains, they're unrecoverable, donate to science, we can honor your loved one there. And there's no time frame there. At Fort Sill National Cemetery, we actually have a Civil War soldier that's honored out there because his remains are unrecoverable. In terms of what you highlighted on is the urn. If the VA provides you an urn, could you bury it in the column or at the National Cemetery? No. Cannot. If you elect to receive an urn or a plaque, commemorative plaque is what they're calling it, then you forfeit all other burial benefits. So you will not be able to be buried in a national cemetery.
Even if you wanted that buried in the ground.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't
You
matter.
have to say why you're on your.
Correct. And that's usually there's a cost kind of involved. That's once you arrive on the cemetery grounds, everything's covered for the veteran service. But leading up to that, so any cremation, casket purchase, an urn purchase, any wake or a showing that takes place at a funeral home, all that takes place there. There's cost involved for that.
Mine's coming from Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, not uncommon actually. I guess that.
My brother-in-law died in 1990,
Yes, ma'am.
and we buried him at Sunset.
Okay.
There's only flat gravestones out there.
I'm familiar. Yes, ma'am.
And the VA provided the bronze,
The bronze marker. Yep.
but we had to provide a granite base
Mm-hmm.
for that to be set
Sit
on.
in too. Yep. Absolutely.
Because of that ground not being real stable out
course.
there. Is that a problem with at VA? Are there flat headstones or are they all,
So at the National Cemetery, we have no flatheads.
pardon?
We at the VA at the Fort Sill National Cemetery, we don't have any flat markers
Okay.
on base or on the National Cemetery.
Okay.
All of our burials are upright headstones except for our columbarium.
And there's no base that we would be responsible for?
Correct. Part of that's what I was saying. If you elect to be buried in a private cemetery, the VA will, give you the marker and I know exactly what you're talking about because I fixed my great grandparents' headstone back in Tennessee when I went up 2 years ago. They'll provide to you the headstone. They'll provide you the bronze marker, the granite marker, but they won't set it for you. That's something that the cost is on the family. And in terms of the bronze marker that you're referencing, it usually needs like a concrete collar to sit in and actually look appropriately. If not, that Bermuda here especially will just kind of take it over. So yes, that's not uncommon. Anyone else?
I've seen some markers out there that got, it looks like there's a veteran on one side.
Correct.
And a wife buried on the other
Correct,
side.
yeah. So
My wife wants to know
Well, I'm
if,
not.
is she gonna get away from me? Or are we gonna be buried right next to one another?
well, that's a good point. So
She's a veteran.
he did. You're both veterans, so yeah, that's exactly what I was leading up to. So if you're both veterans, you're both married to one another, then every veteran's entitled to one grave. So you both will be entitled. So at the time of your passing or your passing, when
So
we,
I'm guaranteed not to be laying next to him, right?
based on your eligibility, again, I work for the government. I can't make guarantees.
I mean, if he passes before I,
one of two things will take place. If he passes before you, and I can tell you part, we'll lay him to rest. If you'd like to have your own gravesite, you'll provide us with a copy of your 214. We'll review it, make sure you're eligible for your own site, and then we'll set aside the grave next to you.
Oh, thanks.
Sounds like a lot of
Now, the counter, I'll counter that. So,
Sounds like a lot of
full
work.
disclosure, if you choose you don't want to be buried at Fort Sill National Cemetery, you can go to Dallas National Cemetery. You can go to any other national cemetery that's open.
You got one in Hawaii?
There is one in Hawaii at the Punch Bowl, but it is closed. Right now, they're doing mostly disinterment, and they're identifying the remains of those who perished during World War II in Pearl Harbor. Yes, sir.
How do I reserve a space for me and my wife?
So you can't reserve a space for you and your wife. It's not possible at any national cemetery. The only way you can reserve a space, this example, is if this gentleman right here passes first, then you'll have a space next to your husband. That's the only way we can do it. That's why I highlighted depletion in terms of Fort Sill National Cemetery. You don't have to worry about us running out of space. If this is your final destination, you don't have to worry about running out of space here. Now, again, I don't guarantee anything for the government, but I can stand pretty firm on that.
But
Husband and wife is established.
they're stacked, right?
Correct. So, like I was going to say, the law, the way the Congress written the law, one veteran is eligible for one grave. Okay? So if you're in a casket and your spouse passes first and the veteran's still alive, then we'll place the spouse. If the veteran remarries and then that spouse passes, we'll place the spouse in the same grave. And it keeps going until we either run out of room or the veteran passes.
How many stacks do you actually have out there? And how deep are they?
Did you say that, Tom? So, this is a unique cemetery. Fort Sill National Cemetery is only 23 years old. It's a new national cemetery. When I came before this, I was in Virginia. I was the director over 4 national cemeteries, date back to the Civil War. I worked out at Chattanooga National Cemetery in Tennessee. We've had up to 5. Matter of fact, the gentleman was a Medal of Honor recipient, and his 4 wives are buried with him. Now, that being said, the reason I said it's new, Fort Sill National Cemetery, and if you go out there now, you'll see we're under construction right now. There's literally a large hole out there, and that's what they do. They'll excavate about 2 acres, and we'll put in the vaults, pre-placed vaults already, and then we'll cover them up, and that's how we do our casketed burials to this day. So, back in the day, we didn't do that, but we have learned that we talked about at this table. God's not making any more land for us, so we have to maximize our space. So we'll pre-place the vaults, and each vault can hold 2 caskets only. So that's the max that we can do at Fort Sill National. Unless it's a private cemetery or a private section or a private vault is coming in, and then we can traditionally do burials that way. But typically it's 2. So if we know that there's a dependent child, I see you, Bill. If we know that there's a dependent child, then what we'll do is we'll set aside the grave next to the veteran and their spouse. That way they can be together. But we need to know ahead of time. Truly, we need to know ahead of time. Because again, we bury right down the road. You guys will go out there next down the line. Yes, Bill.
I think if you might explain to them how you handle unclaimed.
Oh yeah, so unclaimed burials. It's fairly popular here in southwest Oklahoma. We enhance the way that we honor unclaimed burials. Obviously, an unclaimed veteran is a veteran who passes without any family members. But that's not to say we're not family, because what you guys do every day reflects the fact that you're family, whether you know the veteran or not. So, one program that we've kind of enhanced here in Oklahoma is that we'll invite the veteran organizations. I'm not authorized to invite media, but I can invite the VSOs all day. And I do. I'll invite MOA. I'll get the VFWs involved, the American Legions, pretty much anybody I've crossed paths with and they've given me a business card. I'll send that invitation out to them and I'll say, I have this veteran. I think the most recent one we had was a veteran and his spouse, actually. It might maybe just predated the family. We're not sure. We don't get any information on our burials except for a discharge. That's all we get. But I'll invite the VSOs out, and we are his family or her family. We will stand in. And I believe the last one we had was last week or the week prior, and we had a wonderful turnout, and it was great. So it's something that I can't take any credit. No one at the National Cemetery can take any credit for what takes place here in terms of how we honor our unclaimed burials, because all I do is send an email out and let you guys know. You guys do all the rest.
So you can't let media know.
I'm not supposed to, no. But I can control anything that you guys do because you're private citizens. So,
But whoever handling the funeral service can do the media.
they could. I'll be honest with you guys. So I've been the assistant director here for the last 3-ish years. We've had unclaimed burials since the day the cemetery opened.
Wow.
So we just kind of, I saw a gap there, and I wanted to make an enhancement. That's all. And being close to an active duty basis all around us, I figured it'd be pretty easy to do too. So, but that's how we do it. Any other questions?
Is there anything you haven't told us that you think you should tell us?
I think something important. Yeah. So, military honors. Obviously, many of you are retired, I'm assuming, if not all. The VA, as a whole, has no control over military honors. That's DOD. Many of you all probably served on military honors in the past, in your previous careers. That being said, it is critical. It's not a problem, I believe, so much here at Fort Sill National Cemetery. But I've seen working at about 9 different other national cemeteries, it has been a problem that coordination for military honors has to be done in advance, and they have to have time. The law states 2-party detail. That's what the law says. One of those party details that comes out to do military honors, whether it be at the private sector, it be in your backyard, it be at a national cemetery, one has to be of the branch. So Army or Air Force, whichever, one has to be of the branch, the other one does not. Just because you're retired military does not mean you're eligible for full military honors. So when I say full military honors, I'm including the rifle volley. Outside of that, the law says you have to fold, present the flag, and play taps. And most of the time, the taps is on a recorded bugle. I mean, I'm sure you all know that. If you don't, spoiler alert. There are a couple of loud buglers, but the military is that's just not a common MOS anymore. But that being said, full military honors are for retirees, and they're at the discretion of DOD if they have the assets. You guys all know you're officers, if you have the assets to pull for that detail. So here at Fort Sill National, if you're in the Army or Air Force, you'll get full military honors. They're great. Navy, Coast Guard, and I even would throw in Marine Corps in there. They just don't have the assets. But that's not to say that if you want full military honors, and maybe you didn't retire, like me, then you partner with some VSOs. I know Stevens County Honor Guard is fantastic. The American Legion Mustang Honor Guard is fantastic. Those are two that those gentlemen will be happy, like what you all do, and you petition up in DC, etc. That's their way they give back to veterans.
So you go through the survivor's assistance office to arrange?
Usually the funeral home will arrange your military
They'll
honors.
do it?
Yes, they will. And if they don't, give us a call and we'll work with them, we'll push them along. Because military honors they have to review the discharge as well and make sure they're eligible. Because they have different eligibility criteria than the VA does for burial.
So you have to have the DD
214, yes. So that's why I encourage you, if you have a will, you're one step ahead of many people that I talk to. Second one is if you have your discharge, fill out this book one day. Look at it, fill it out, put your discharge and your will close by to that, and make sure whomever is taking care of your final affairs, they know what your intentions are and they know where to get that information. I can't highlight that enough. Too many times I've talked to veterans where they didn't know what dad wanted or what mom wanted. Well, we're here to assist you the best way possible. That being said, I will highlight one thing I forgot, Joe, thank you. And this is mostly for funeral homes, but since you guys interact with veterans and the community just more than I do, then I'll share it with you that if a veteran passes or a spouse passes, more than likely if it's a veteran and they don't have a discharge, that doesn't mean they're not eligible for burial. That just means we gotta go find it. So we do have in our eligibility office that's based out of St. Louis. They have a team. They have access to records and databases like the War Records, NARA, NPRC. I don't have access to, but they'll go help and find that record for the veteran. So it'll delay the burial because first and foremost, we do eligibility. That's all VA benefits. So, but we can go searching for those records. And then there was the fire that took place in St. Louis back in the day.
Yep.
A lot of career war veterans got their records affected by it. That doesn't mean that you're barred from benefits. That just means that's going to take a few extra steps. So I would encourage all, if you're affected by that or if you don't have your discharge, go get it now. You can fill out an SF-180. It's a real simple process. They'll send it directly to you. They'll send you all your records, actually. So if you don't have records or you interact with veterans who don't have their records, push them now. Because by the time the veteran passes and we're in that time frame for a casketed burial and the family's grieving, it's a very short window for that. They need that closure. And we cannot provide a benefit. No, the VA cannot provide any benefit unless it's earned. Okay? Yes, sir.
I would suggest, I mean, we have pre-planned burial
Yep.
with the funeral home.
Yep.
Already have a copy of the DD 214 in our file right there at the funeral home.
Yep, absolutely. It's very common, or county courthouse. You know, when I got out, I registered your 214 with the county courthouse. That's helpful too. Because when we're gone, when the veteran's gone, you can't ask us the questions anymore. And there's questions that have to be asked. That's another reason I don't usually advocate too much for government material. But I'll have this in my safe at home for my wife. I truly do. My wife knows where my will is. She knows which life insurance policies are in there. She knows where I want to be buried at. Everything. The type of burial I want. Everything's laid out in there.
And he's a young guy.
That's true, but I was in Tennessee last weekend because my sister-in-law, who was 35, she died unexpectedly last week. So when the good Lord comes calling, we don't know when we're going to go. Maybe some of us are blessed with a long life. Maybe some of us not so much. But just know, it's important. Always be ready. Okay? Yes, sir.
My wife is buried in Hawaii,
Okay.
and my brother Bill is buried right here in Elgin, for Sill National. My sister-in-law asked me, where do you want to be buried? I said, wherever you want to put me. I won't have a say in it at that time. She said, well, I'm going to send your ashes out to Hawaii where your wife is. We met there.
Yep.
Was there support for that?
To get your remains, from Oklahoma to Hawaii, is it going to be a casketed burial or a cremation burial?
No, cremation burial.
Cremation burial. So you can.
Her ashes were poured in the sea with
Okay.
a priest and everything. And total funeral service.
Okay. Is she buried at the National Memorial Cemetery at the
No,
Bunch?
she's buried at Boca Lea, which is a small town, part of Waialua, which is a small town, and it's the northwest corner of Oahu,
Yeah.
up in that area.
So it's a private cemetery though?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to speak outside of
Well,
my.
it's gonna be in the sea.
Oh, your remains are going to be scattered.
The ashes are gonna be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
So,
it's just taking it's just a casket of ashes about this time.
okay, so are they scattered in the sea or are they actually
Yes,
buried
yes,
in the sea?
According to
Okay.
that's how the
All right, so she doesn't have an actual burial site in Hawaii, correct?
no.
All right, so then you could technically memorialize your wife at Fort Sill National Cemetery if you wanted to. You have that as an option because her remains were scattered and they're not recoverable. So that's an option.
You can take my ashes to Hawaii.
She could, if your family would like to take your ashes and scatter them at sea as well,
Yeah.
and you guys would like to erect a memorial marker at any national cemetery that's open, it doesn't even have to be a national cemetery. It could be a private cemetery. The VA will provide that.
Yeah, people do that out in Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think what I heard, part of his question was, do you support getting the ashes
Yeah, so I was going to
to?
follow up. No. So, quick answer: no. The VA does not mail remains. Now, you can legally mail cremated remains through USPS. That's the only vendor I know you can use that for. What's that?
Because my mother did the Will Body Program, and then OU mailed those remains to me. So then I took them to mail them at USPS.
And that
My
wouldn't let you?
cousin, and he said, well, he wanted to know what it was. I told him. The point is, don't tell him what you're mailing. because he said you need to take to a funeral home because you're not authorized to do that. I
So
went
a
to the
funeral home has to mail the
but
remains?
Right, but the funeral home told me, he said, where'd you take those? And I said, to the one on 67. He said, take it downtown, don't tell them what's in there, and you're just, that's what I did.
So I have received I don't know the.
Yeah, I received
I don't know the,
USPS.
so they could be mailed. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if maybe,
But
depending
the
on.
OU Will Body Program, they mail them to me. They're legal to do that because they're.
That's what it comes down to, state law.
Individual cannot mail.
Yeah,
But,
okay. But a funeral home can.
Yes.
And that's gonna be dependent on state law. Every state's different.
But it's not, yeah, when they say, is it flammable?
But yes.
No, it's already been flamed.
Cocaine.
But anyway, thanks, Bill. Thank you all.